Welcome everyone, Costin here with my campaign overview guide for Manfred von Carstein, the most hated character in the Warhammer universe because he brought about the end of the old world as we know it. Now, Manfred has an interesting campaign in a lot of ways. If you want to fight half the world united against you, it's pretty appropriate considering how many people in the fan base do despise this guy. You're going to be fighting a lot of factions surrounding you. In fact, in most campaigns, if he's played by the eye, he tends to get wiped out. But let's talk about the vampire counts a bit. The vampire counts are one of the more powerful races in the entire game. They do have good growth, good economy, good selection of units, and they can spam very cheap and very effective units pretty quickly in their campaign. So for instance, this is turn 1. This is a campaign I literally just started. And on turn 1, through the Raise Dead mechanic, I can get an army of 14 units. This is a lot. And that's just through the Raise Dead mechanic. Once I get going in the campaign, once I start constructing units every single turn, it's going to be very easy to get a lot of units. This applies to every single legendary lord of the vampire counts. Gorse does it the best, however, because he gets very cheap zombies in his campaign, and he gets more of them through the Raise Dead mechanic, which replaces global recruitment for the vampire counts. They also have great lord choices, great lords through the bloodlines tree that also give you faction-wide benefits. So the vampire counts are certainly a race that, despite the fact that they haven't gotten much in the way of DLC, only one DLC pack actually, they have managed to stay very relevant in Warhammer 3. And in fact, Warhammer 3 buffed them through the roof. They benefit from the way corruption works right now, and they have gotten significant faction-wide benefits. They used to use masses of free skeletal warriors and spearmen, but now they get very cheap zombies, and they can steamroll the map pretty effectively. You're going to need that if you're going to play as Manfred. Now, what does Manfred get? He can collect the Books of Nagash, he can gain access to unique building and Drakenhof, which will further improve those Books of Nagash if you study them. So you're going to want to go all the way here, fighting factions as you go. He starts with 1 blood kiss, which obviously is useful if you want to unlock a bloodline. The way it works with blood kisses is you need to either kill a faction leader in battle, or vassalize a faction, or do a quest battle, or assassinate a character. You might be the only faction, if you're playing a Vampire Counts Legendary Lord, you might be the only one who actually cares about assassinating lords on the campaign map. That's the faction-wide benefits. Nothing too substantial besides that 20% research rate and that diplomatic relations plus 20 benefits with the followers in Nagash. So you can get Archon as a powerful ally in your campaign, since both of them do serve Nagash. Now, Manfred does get the Dark Acolyte, which gives him benefits to Winds of Magic, upkeep benefits for Graveguard and Black Knight units, and the ability Master of the Black Arcs, which gives him Spell Mastery plus 25%. In terms of his special skill line, well, he doesn't have it. He doesn't have a special skill line, though he does have some magical skills over here. The reason he doesn't have a special skill line is because he has 2 schools of magic, though how much you'll actually want to invest in that's a completely different discussion. Personally, as I see it, I would invest in the Invocation of Nehek, but I would not bother with Spirit Age or this entire tree over here, because it's just not worth it from my perspective. He does get faction-wide benefits, not through his skill tree, but through the Books of Nagash. Though, bear in mind, he is going to be a pretty powerful lord when it comes to his melee ability and his magical ability. So let's talk about those Books of Nagash. You get various effects. Hero capacity for all heroes. Regions will be hit by a sandstorm after sacking or occupying a settlement. Casualty replenishment plus 10% after sacking or occupying a settlement. Benefits to trade tariffs and campaign line of sight over regions of gold, marble, and gemstones. And these effects will obviously be doubled if you study the tomes within the Malevolent Museum in Drakenhof. Upkeep -5%. Blood Kiss gained a free 10% research rate. Unlocks the recruitment of necromancers, hero capacity of necromancers, effectiveness of all commandments by up to 100%. That's pretty insane. Lord recruit rank +2. So there are some very substantial campaign benefits, especially if you go for Castle Drakenhof. Of course, the downside is that some of these books can be pretty far. And the books, if I'm not mistaken, the books for him work the same way as they do for Tomb King. So where each book is random. You might want to start the campaign multiple times over to get some of the better books closer to you. So for instance, one of the things that you would want to get pretty early on in the campaign would be the 4th book of Nagash. You might also benefit from getting the 5th book of Nagash, though all of them are pretty strong. So that's the situation when it comes to faction effects. Army roster wise, yeah, go for skeletal warriors, zombies, and eventually start recruiting Graveguard and Graveguard with great weapons, especially for Manfred's own army. That should be your campaign plan, and then get vampires because they're pretty powerful combatants. You can do very well if you're playing the vampire counts with heroes in general. Alright. Now, let's talk about campaign plan. You do start at war with the Doom Kingdoms, which Volkmar the Grim also starts at war. And what you want to do if you're playing Manfred is you want to take Bagar, and then you want to take Antok, then show up here at the Plain Tuskers, and then eliminate Volkmar. You will be able to drown him in a literal tide of zombies. Though you may not want to recruit too many units turn 1 because you do want to get the City of Bronze. The income benefit is pretty substantial. And the recruitment duration and recruitment cost can also help you quite a bit. Once Volkmar is eliminated, what do you do? Well, you can colonize the jungle, so you could just head on down south. Though, of course, the Bowmen of Orient, Forek, etc. will have a couple of things to say about that. My advice would be to take Volkmar out and then march against Cetra. Eliminate Cetra from the campaign, take the Land of the Dead, and then maybe turn your gaze with multiple armies on the Bowmen of Orion and take out Forek Ironbrow at the same time. You don't necessarily need to worry about occupying Forek's territory, though the vampire counts are... Though you could still benefit from having that gold mine there because it is still a substantial amount of income. But regardless of what you do choose to do in this particular region, just eliminate Forex, eliminate the Bowmen of Orion. After that, you may want to take the Black Pyramid of Nagash at one point in your campaign, though you shouldn't rush it at every opportunity because there is a powerful army over here. There is a powerful garrison. Though if you could eliminate it before it becomes tier 4 or tier 5, that would be the best scenario in your campaign. Though the bigger problem in your campaign is actually going to be Tic-Tac-Toe. Because Tic-Tac-Toe is pretty aggressive, he doesn't have that much opposition, and he just causes headaches for every faction that starts in Khemri, be it Volkmar, Manfred, or Cetra. And so you're going to want to eliminate Tic-Tac-Toe just so he's less of a headache, take over this entire territory. Or you could just continuously head west, take the Great Desert of Araby. If you take the Great Desert of Araby and build the special structure over there, you can then sell the Great Desert of Araby to another faction and benefit diplomatically in quite a significant way. You might even be able to get a vassalization agreement with factions that would never agree to it in the first place, like Rapans. Yeah, sounds weird, sounds ridiculous, but it's something I've done even as Arkan the Black. I've done it, so Manfred might be able to do that. But you would want to take the Cracked Land as a province, take the Shifting Sands, obviously the Land of the Dervishes, and the Land of the Dead. What you do after that, you could expand south, or you could start heading north. Remember where the books are, and your goal will be to try and take those books. So the first book of Nagash in this particular situation, the 5th book of Nagash, and then start heading north in this campaign, dealing with the factions along the way. Though I have to say, conquering the Badlands is, generally speaking, a nightmare. Like, I would eliminate Scarbrand, but then I would not necessarily bother with the Badlands themselves. Though you can colonize the territory there, you can't colonize the mountains. It's just the Marshes of Madness are an absolute nightmare to actually navigate as any faction. And Malagor has a tendency to do a plague, which also complicates your situation. But regardless of what you choose to do, you are going to want to head north to head over to Drakenhof and take it over. If you can make an alliance with Vlad, all the better. Maybe you help him out against the Empire, sell some territory, make an alliance, eventually confederate them to get Drakenhof for yourself. Or maybe you just take advantage of the fighting between Vlad and the Empire and you just take him out yourself. And you can eventually recruit him if you play your cards right. Or you can use a mod that gives you defeated legendary lords if you want to get Vlad as part of your faction. Which, let's be honest, if you're playing a vampire counts, you want to get Vlad. He's an absolute monster in battles. Same with Isabella. Ideally, a confederation would be in play, though suffice to say Vlad and Manfred don't particularly like each other. After you've secured Drakenhof, you're likely going to end up at war with a lot of Imperial factions in the process, but once you've taken Drakenhof, you should have 4 of the Books of Nagash. And you would want to also secure the other books. So heading west, heading into Lustria might be the plan. You can colonize Lustria as well. So you might actually want to set that up as the base of operations. You do have some great territory here in Camry and Araby. Maybe making an alliance with Arkan would be the best play. Like, Tomb Kings can be very useful allies because since they have free armies, they'll just pump out units like there's no tomorrow. And Arkan himself is an absolute monster on the campaign map. Looking at campaign victory conditions, you do need to eliminate Cetra and Volkmar, and long term, you do need to take over the Empire and specifically destroy the Reichland. Though the long term campaign victory condition is not necessarily the most important in the world. Like, there are factions who get hero recruit ranks and hero capacity. You just get winds of magic. It's not the most important to achieve success there when it comes down to it. And you do have options because you can take over a pretty sizable chunk of territory. So the wasteland, the temperate climate, the desert, and the jungle. There's plenty of territory that is available for Manfred to take over. He can take over half the bloody world. He can take over the Badlands, the Darklands, Cathay, or large portions of Cathay, not all of it, without no penalties. And so you do have quite a few choices. It can be a fairly fun, dynamic campaign if you're playing as Manfred, but you are playing as Manfred. Personally, I prefer to kill Manfred. Costin here, signing out. Don't forget to subscribe, like, enable notifications, and stay tuned for more, boys and girls.